Good morning, everybody. Good morning. We're on Plan B. Hi, everybody online. That's why my laptop is right in front of us. And I'm so glad that you're all there. We can do a little bit of this. Wave, everybody.
Hello.
So today we are on January 16th and we're exploring the topic of everyday living. And the one who is assisting me is Laurie Carlson, who you met outside, who brought you in to light some candles on our table. And we have this exploration today of this idea about everyday living when we struggle and how we can then pause and explore a reset. So we're going to dig deeper into that. My name is Frankie Timmers, and I'm the Spiritual Director of Center for Spiritual Living Morristown. Now we are in Brookside, beautiful historic Brookside, New Jersey, meeting at the Brookside Community Church where we get to collaborate as soon as we can when we are able to meet all together. And if you'd like, you can explore more information on our website, which is www.cslmorristown.org. That's also a place where you can support us if that's something that you wish. So if you're on Facebook Live or you're on YouTube, leave us comments, say hello, greet one another, make comments, ask questions, use the bubbles, and just have fun with that. I would love to ask those of you who are here today, especially if you're here for the first time, to sign our guest book, which is over there on the table. Give us as much information as you like. And we have some wonderful things that we're going to keep doing here with the space to make it more beautiful. Over there at that table is some information. I'm starting a class very soon that I know all of you are going to want to take. It's about our spiritual ancestry. The good news is it's on Zoom, so anyone can join us from anywhere. And it is about where we come from as an organization, who were the teachers. And we have an intro class that's free on Thursday, January 27th, and then the class begins in February. So grab the flyer. And also there's this little flyer that I love. That's our Living Everyday Wonder, which is the theme for the year. So pick this up and take a look at all the areas that we're going to explore this year, and you can kind of color it in because there's 10 lines and you can kind of play with that and see where you are. All right, so, excuse me. We've made a few little changes to our celebration, so I need to check. So we're going to do a little Namaste practice. And those of you that are online, you can do it with me, or just close your eyes and do it with yourself. Or if you're with a friend or a loved one, you can do it with your loved one. You can imagine that you're here in the room. So many of you know the word Namaste, right? Namaste means that in many ways it's translated, but as I bless you, I bless myself. As I bless you, I bless the world. And so just turn to somebody and give them a namaste.
Namaste.
You're really,
Namaste.
yes, namaste.
The light in me sees the light in you.
So this is an opportunity to bless the light within. With the light within, bless the other's light within. Namaste. So now close your eyes and take a breath and take that in. It's not just a frivolous thing. It's a deep, deep thing that has deep, deep meaning. It has such deep meaning that when we do this and when we give it and when we receive it, something magical happens. Our soul recognizes the connection, the experience in the giving and the receiving. So let it sink really deep in your being. Yes. And let's do an opening treatment, our word for affirmative prayer. So right here, right now, as we open our mind and our hearts to the experience at hand, we allow what we experience, what we hear, what we see, what we feel to fall on the fertile soil of our consciousness, and to have be dissolved whatever doesn't serve us, whatever doesn't harmonize, whatever doesn't bless us in that moment. So we are grateful to be part of a spiritual community and to be exposed to a spiritual technology and a spiritual teaching that allows us to be blessed in every moment. It allows our life experience to become enriched with the truth of our very being, and allows us to make our living more flourishing, more thriving, more glorious, more blessed. And so today we trust that this experience is one that is a gift, a healing gift, not just to ourselves and our loved ones, but everyone on this beautiful planet. For that we are deeply grateful, and so it is.
And so it is.
And now we have the beautiful Laurie Carlson blessing us with her sharing.
Good morning. Welcome to our new home, everyone. I hope that you enjoyed being able to light a candle and set an intention for yourself, for this day, and for this beautiful community of which we are grateful to be a part. Today's theme, as Reverend Frankie said, is everyday spiritual living and the everyday wonder. So for me, I took this as the principle of knowing that everything, the universe, is always happening for us and never to us or against us. So with this theme in mind, I would like to share one of my favorite Zen stories and then add a science of mind twist to that. So this is the story. There is a Chinese story of a farmer who used an old horse to till his fields. One day the horse escaped into the hills, and when the farmer's neighbors sympathized with the old man over his bad luck, the farmer replied, "Bad luck, good luck, who knows?" A week later, the horse returned with a herd of horses from the hills, and this time the neighbors congratulated the farmer on his good luck. His reply was, "Good luck, bad luck, who knows?" Then, when the farmer's son was attempting to tame one of the wild horses, he fell off its back and broke his leg. Everyone thought this very bad luck. Not the farmer, whose only reaction was, "Bad luck, good luck, who knows?" Some weeks later, the army marched into the village and conscripted every able-bodied youth they found there. When they saw the farmer's son with his broken leg, they let him off. Now, was that good luck or bad luck? Who knows? Everything that seems on the surface to be an evil may be a good in disguise. And everything that seems good on the surface may really be an evil. Of course, we don't believe in good and evil, but this is their parable. So we are wise when we leave it to God to decide what is good fortune and what misfortune, and thank Him that all things turn out for good with those who love Him. So I wanted to also read from today's Science of Mind magazine, a short quote by Byron Katie. It says, "Life is simple. Everything happens for you, not to you. Everything happens at exactly the right moment. Neither too soon nor too late. You don't have to like it. It is just easier if you do." So from this perspective, that it is much easier to accept that everything is happening for us, I would like to apply some science of mind principle to that story. So what if, instead of not knowing if it's good luck or bad luck, we know that everything is happening for our highest and best? We know that everything is happening for our good. So even if it's a broken leg or a lost horse or a good leg and a found horse, whatever it is, there is something in it that is happening for us. If it's growth, if it's an opportunity to expand our awareness, if it's empathy for others, whatever it is, if we can just trust that it is not happening to us but for us, we can look for and find that good. whether it be stuck in traffic and, frustrated about how slow the person in the aisle in front of you is. Maybe that's an opportunity to practice patience, to just settle in with yourself for a minute. Even if it's something as serious as having COVID or being ill, maybe this is an opportunity to take care of yourself, to trust in the process, to learn empathy for others suffering. When I had COVID, I learned an amazing lesson. I learned that people love me. I was loved and supported by so many people in my community and by my spiritual community, by my friends. I was not aware that I was so well supported. So it was a blessing for me because I got to see just how loved and supported I am. And I got to spread that to others. And so I invite you all now to close your eyes and to think of some experience that seemed like a misfortune at the time, or a suffering, or a struggle, whatever it may be. And just breathe into the feeling that you had. Frustration, anger, whatever it was, just remember it. And now, I invite you to look at it from the perspective that the universe is always happening for you. So say to yourself, what if this is happening for my good? What if this is happening for my good? What can I see? And how does that feel? How does it feel to experience this moment of frustration or illness or whatever it is from a place of knowing, trusting and believing that there is something positive there if you look for it? Just embrace this feeling. Isn't it a much better way to feel? I know it's difficult at the moment, but in retrospect, we almost always find the positive, or at least I do. But now I invite you to try to make the intention to feel it at the time, to look at the process as it's happening and say, what can I learn from this? How can I make myself grow through this experience? And how can I be love in action by experiencing this? Now I invite you to set your intention to bring this out into your day and your daily life and look for the good. Look for the good in everything, because I tell you, it's there. It's there if you look for it, you'll find it. So now I'd like to end with repeating an affirmation. So I invite you to repeat after me. I know that the universe is always operating for me.
I know that the universe is always operating for me.
And never against me.
And never against me.
And so I choose to look for the good in every circumstance.
And so I choose to look for the good in every circumstance.
And I am grateful to know this truth today.
And I am grateful to know this truth today.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Laurie. Laurie is a second-year practitioner student, so we're very blessed to have her serve us in such a grace-filled way. Thank you, Laurie. So, everyday spiritual living. That's a high call, right? I think we all know people, and maybe we've been those people. We see people where spirituality is a surface thing. It's a feel-good thing. You know, you might have a Buddha statue or picture hanging in your house. Or you might be looking at YouTube videos or read spiritual books. Or maybe you do a namaste at times in the Indian restaurant. Or maybe you are somebody who has mala beads around their wrist because they look so pretty. A lot of that is not necessarily bad. It's beautiful. It's become very much a commerce, right? It's monetized in many ways. But true spiritual living happens in the trenches. It happens when we're struggling. It happens when we have a diagnosis of illness. It happens when we have financial challenges or relationship challenges. True everyday spiritual living, then, is about being and exploring our being nature. It's hard work. I was talking to my friend yesterday, and we were talking about this, and I have one of those chairs that have really wide arms. I call it the mother chair because I purchased it when my mother passed. And on both arms there are scraps of paper because I'm always taking notes when I listen to a movie or watch a movie, when I'm reading a book, or when I'm watching I'm scribbling, and I have a special place where I put those notes so I can go back to them. And so they feed me, and it's an opportunity, a moment of study, and how can I apply that? And how can I go to that in my darkest hour, right? And so how interesting that today, tomorrow, yesterday, we celebrate Martin Luther King. And he was only 39 years old, which I forget, because he seems like an old soul, right? So he always presented in the trenches a message of unity, a message of compassion, devoted to social justice, human rights, civil rights, nonviolence, freedom for the future, with his passion and dedication to life. And it was unwavering, right? And so the day before he was killed, on April 4th in 1968, he gave a speech, and in this speech, he said that if he could choose to live at any time in human history, he would choose to live in his own time, because it was the most important time in all of history. And even though his life was difficult, he thanked God for allowing him to live a few years and to participate in what was unfolding in time. We're so blessed to be living at this time. There is a reason why you and I are alive now and not in the 60s or in the 1800s or the 1700s. It's because we are called to show up today as fully realized beings on this planet. That doesn't mean we have to be perfect, because none of us are. I am so flawed, it's not even funny. And I have no desire to pretend I'm perfect. And so it's in the flaws that we experience our spiritual nature, our divine nature, right? And so it is Martin Buber who said, Martin Buber, the 19th century Australian Jewish philosopher. I got it right. He said, the world is incomprehensible. The world is incomprehensible. How many times have you said that lately? I don't get it. What's going on in the world? But he also said, but it's embraceable. But it's embraceable. So how do we embrace that? Well, the good news that Laurie already shared is that there is a conspiracy going on. And it's the one and only true conspiracy, which is that the universe always conspires for our highest and best. That's a tough nut to crack at times, right? But what if we truly live that way? What if we believe that everything is unfolding in sweet perfection or in divine right action, whatever words you like to call it? That means that what's demanded of us is a higher level of consciousness. It also means that you and I are infinitely supported all the time. That you are never alone. That you are infinitely loved and infinitely supported all the time. Maybe not by the person next to you or not next to you, but in general, by the universe itself. And so now we face wars with that consciousness. And we know in metaphysics that the outer wars that we witness are just a reflection of the inner war that's already going on. Anybody has a war going on inside? Yep, all the time. All the time. Well, not all the time. A lot of the time. It's because we experience in our human nature duality, the world of opposites. And they are contradicting each other, so they tend to be at war. It causes a struggle where we know that love is all there is, but we experience hate for ourselves or for another, or another for us. And so that's a messenger. That tells us there is something for us to reconcile within our own consciousness, to understand at a deeper level, to learn something new about ourselves and each other, and to grow. So that's why I want to talk about, or why I am talking about this idea of we struggle, and what do we do when we struggle? On a spiritual path, in everyday spiritual living, when we struggle, we work with that. We don't keep struggling. I mean, if you're having a sword fight, there comes a moment where you have to put down your sword. And maybe you have some examples where you experienced that, where you realized to stop fighting, where you said, all right, I give up. Or where you just surrender and just let be and let go. What if we didn't struggle so much with ourselves and with each other? Can you imagine how that could show up in the world? I can. And so spiritual living can be a struggle. It's not the struggle with spiritual living, it's the struggle we have with ourselves. And so one way to stop struggling is to just see things as they are. Just see it as it is and accept it. Okay, so I had a shitty childhood. So I was abused. So my doesn't love me. So I struggle with self-esteem. So I struggle with finding the right employment. So I struggle with relationships. Just, it is what it is. Just be with it, just accept it, just allow it, instead of fighting it. Because it costs a lot of time and energy, and it doesn't go anywhere. And so we stop the fight and we work with something instead of against it. We name it, and we name it with compassion. We embrace it and befriend it because it has good in it for us, whether we believe that at the moment or not. That's what intimacy is. When you have intimate relationships, you know that what's available to you is to love and accept somebody exactly the way they are. It doesn't mean we have to put up with everything. It's about, instead of struggling, transforming and transcending. So we do that by pausing. When I am struggling and I'm trying to figure something out, some of the best things that I have done is go for a walk, take a nap, even though my mind might be a little overactive, have a milkshake, go shopping, listen to some music and dance, do a spiritual mind treatment, or ask someone to treat for or with you. Take some time to meditate. Watch a funny movie, Afterlife on Netflix, watch it. It's hilarious and sad, but beautiful. So it doesn't mean that you necessarily are able to do this in the midst of your struggle. But if you give yourself a moment of pausing and you take a breath, or 2 or 3 or 4, or take a walk, or take a bath, or take a nap, or listen to some music, or just move your body a little bit, just do something that's inspiring, then you can notice what's in the way. Notice. It's a word that's coined by Mary O'Malley from her book, What's in the Way is the Way. It's where we make some space within the struggle and we notice what's happening. That then takes us to a deeper knowing. And then we notice that we can move from this idea of relating to. We can move from relating from to relating to, I mean. So instead of relating from the place of struggle, I can relate to the struggle and take it as a way of saying, that's interesting. I can do something with this. And so the reset can happen next, where we struggle, we pause, then there's an opportunity for a reset, which means that what's happening, we have a part in it. It's not happening separately from us. It's not happening outside of us. And one way to reset is to get curious. Oh, that's interesting. Let me think about that. Let me do a little research. Let me check that out. Let me see what's possible. Let me see what's available. Is this mine or is it somebody else's? Is this the world pressing in on me or is it really what I believe? Being curious is a great antidote to being afraid, which we don't always know we are, right? When we are anxious and when we're stressed or when we're worried, that's just fear, and it's a messenger. And so we can be curious as a mindfulness practice. Imagine that, adding another practice to your spiritual practices, a mindfulness practice of being curious. Ooh, it's just to look a little bit deeper. What we know is that we are consciousness. And our consciousness, we see out here. I see my consciousness out here, you see your consciousness out here, and so the world is just reflecting back to you your consciousness. It's a mirror. And you can really look at that with compassion and say, interesting, it's a lifetime. It's a lifetime or 2 or 3 or 4. So as we're doing this theme for the year, Living Everyday Wonder, and you're taking a look at this beautiful graph, you can kind of take a look and say January, we're doing January, which is, I guess, inner life, and just kind of where you are, 1 to 10, and start coloring it in. 1. Maybe under creativity, you're 10. Maybe under emotions, you're 3. You begin to see a little bit of a graph of how your consciousness shows up in the world. And then you get to make choices. Do you know that every moment we have choice available to us? Every moment we have choice available to us. For now, maybe we could just set an intention to choose love. Just set an intention to choose love. I love what it says in the Science of Mind magazine this month. This is how I study. I mean, it's marked everywhere. This is on the 12th. It has a quote by Martin Shaw. Don't know who he is, but he's got great words. He says, love derails world-weary strategy. Love derails world-weary strategy. Let me say it again. Love derails world-weary strategy. Loosens cynicism from your heart. Laces every single one of your bones with a complete reboot of wonder. I need to read this man's writing. Let me do this again. Love derails world-weary strategy, loosens cynicism from your heart, laces every single one of your bones with a complete reboot of wonder. So, what if we trusted the universe just a little bit more when we struggle? And if we realize that it's not an overwhelming task of awakening and healing and doing our part, it's just little things. I have a little story that I want to read to you in closing. It's an old Native American legend. One day, there was a big fire in the forest. All the animals fled in terror in all directions, because it was a very violent fire. Suddenly, the jaguar saw a hummingbird pass over his head, but in the opposite direction. the hummingbirds flew towards the fire. Whatever happened, he wouldn't stop. And moments later, the jaguar saw him pass again, and this time in the same direction as the jaguar was walking. He could observe this coming and going until he decided to ask the bird, "What are you doing?" And the hummingbird says, "I'm going to the lake. I drink water with my beak and I throw it on the fire to extinguish it." The jaguar laughed. That's how the jaguar laughed. Are you crazy? Do you really think that you can put out a big fire on your own with your tiny little beak? "No," said the hummingbird. "I know I can't. But the forest is my home. It feeds me. It shelters me and my family. And I'm grateful for that. And I help the forest grow by pollinating its flowers. I'm a part of her. And the forest is part of me. I know I can't put out the fire, but I can do my part." At that moment, the forest spirits who listened to the hummingbird were moved by the little bird and its devotion to the forest. And miraculously, they sent a torrential downpour, which put an end to the great fire. Listen for your part. And never question whether it's enough. Because the truth is, it's enough. If we question whether it's enough, we negate our consciousness. We negate that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. We negate our own unique individuality. And just remember that when you struggle, that's part of your spiritual practice, not just your meditation, your treatment, and your wonderful beads and jewelry that's spiritual, and the Buddha in your house. But be sure to pause and not to stop. Just pause, but not stop. And remember the reset. So let's close with a healing treatment. Let's take a few breaths before we do. And just honor your journey, which is different from everyone else on this planet. And yet that we have so much in common. Allow the heart of compassion within you to open, first for you, then for others, then for the world and our planet. The hummingbirds, the jaguars, the Martin Luther Kings, the Martin Buber. And join me in the I am that I am, which is our true name. It is the highest and best part of ourselves, our soul, our spirit, our true nature. So right here, right now, I know that who and what I am is spirit in physical form, and is spirit in a human incarnation in 2022, January. And I know that I am here by divine appointment. And so I answer the call and say, yes, my life matters. My life makes a difference. Who I am, what I do, what I say, how I feel makes a difference. And so I allow any struggle I'm having. I allow it to be an experience of awakening. I allow it to be an experience of opening. I allow it to be an experience of love flowing through me and out of me as I then serve humanity by means of my evolution. At the same time, I serve humanity with the love that is already within me and within my heart. If I don't notice yet, I just take time to listen. And whether I go to the grocery store and help someone or smile at someone, or I am part of a protest or a movement, I know that I have something to give that is for the greater good. I trust that the universal law itself dissolves whatever is in the way, and I let that be the way. And so it is.
So it is.
So, we are bringing back some conversation about offering. So Laurie is passing out something. One of the ways that we are sustained is by your generosity. I know some of you have nothing to give, so you get to volunteer. And I know some of you have a lot to give. We know that giving is a spiritual practice because as I give, I receive. That's how the law of circulation works. And so I am giving, and I love giving via text. And so I set it up once, and then I put in the dollar amounts. La 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 la, and I press send. And then I get a text right away that says, thank you for your contribution of. You've been emailed a receipt. Type refund if it was a mistake. It's not a mistake. And so the whole idea is that you are invited to support this spiritual community so that we can continue to be sustainable, which why we're here is because we weren't in the other place. There's envelopes over there if you want to give today. What we handed out to you is many opportunities to give. And so let's listen to some music that describes this very beautifully. Oh, you're not there? Who is the artist again? Jack Fowler. Jack Fowler. Hi, Jack. And the song is called Abundance. And just listen to the words and let them become a prayer. And sing along if you wish.
Old school who wants to give that way.
Many blessings. Much love to everyone. Have a beautiful day.